In this video, we go over your teams as we get a week away from the start of the Premier League season. All of these teams have been shared with me on Instagram, JNO_FPL today. So go give that a follow as we go over these sides. That coming up next. What the flock is going on, and welcome to FPL Today. Thank you so much for joining me as we go over 4 more of your FPL sides before the start of the Fantasy Premier League season. If you're excited for the beginning of this season, please do hit that like button and subscribe to stay up to date with videos as we get as much content out for you during pre-season, so you're as ready for the start of this season as possible. And we start off with Chris Martin Goat, who has shared his team with me on Instagram. And as you can see, it's a little bit different, which is what I love to see, because there was a period where a lot of your sides were very, very similar. We've got Meslier in goal with Clayson as his backup. Of course, that is the Leeds goalkeeper pair there, which should come in at 8.5 million. But we then got Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson along with Mohamed Salah. And today in the Community Shield, as I'm recording this just after it, that threesome would have done very well for you. Laporte, on the other hand, wouldn't have. I don't think he actually started, but of course, Manchester City conceding 3 to Liverpool. Not that they're going to do that against many sides. Then, of course, you've got Trippier there, slightly cheaper than the likes of Reece James and so on. So, potentially, that's a good way into a Newcastle defence, and Newcastle a side that should be on the up. In midfield, we've already spoken about Salah, but I do like the Bowen, Grealish, Bailey. Like, it's just different, isn't it? And to be honest, sometimes I just like to talk about something a bit different. Bowen's actually been pretty quiet pre-season, but he did have a stellar season last year and was great value for money, being one of the top 5 scoring players, I believe, in the whole game. So definitely worth a punt if you really think he's going to continue that form. Just West Ham's fixtures aren't that fantastic. We then got Grealish, who, to be honest, looks like he's still missing a little bit of confidence when I watched him in the Community Shield. He could be a great differential, but right now I just don't think I can take the risk on him. However, Leon Bailey has been firing on all cylinders during pre-season, and I'd be surprised if he's not a starter with the performances he has been putting in. So very interested in Bailey as that cheap midfielder. And then up front, I suppose Kane and Jesus will be the most popular pairing of strikers going into the beginning this season, after Erling Haaland did his best impression of Timo Werner in the Community Shield. I'm not saying Erling Haaland won't be great, I just want to make that very clear, but he wasn't that impressive in the Community Shield. But he definitely made some runs that, had the likes of Kevin De Bruyne found the right pass, he could have been through on goal, and maybe it could have been a very different story. But Gabriel Jesus, I think he's scored like 7 or 8 goals now during pre-season. He's been on absolute fire. So I think going without Jesus, with his such high ownership, would be a very risky way to start your FPL season. And then the bench is pretty familiar. Nico Williams, Andreas Pereira. I have no idea who that Crystal Palace player is there, but I'm assuming he's 4.5 million and that's why he's there. So, interesting side. Some players I probably wouldn't take a punt on myself, but I do like how it is different. Speaking of different, we look at Khazakhstan. I probably said that wrong, but his side is also quite different. I mean, just starting off with the bench, you've got Grealish on the bench. That means he's got Bailey, Grealish, Lingard, Mount and Fernandes as his midfield. Now, overall, that's a pretty expensive midfield without having the likes of Salah, Son or Kevin De Bruyne. Fernandes could be a very good player under Ten Hag. I don't think I'm willing to take the punt on Man United until I see him in some competitive Premier League games. But Mount definitely seems like a very good and stable Chelsea choice if you want Chelsea coverage. Lingard, it'll be interesting to see how he does at Forest. Will he be the Lingard of West Ham or the Lingard of Man United? Bailey, we spoke about. I think everyone's going into the season with Bailey in their side. And of course, Grealish, I've already spoke about in the last person's team. But up front, with Kane and Jesus, you also have Martial, who has had a decent pre-season. I think it's 3 goals and 1 assist for him. Again, I'm just not willing to take the punt on Man United options just yet. But if you really think Ten Hag is going to improve them right off the bat, then it could really work out for you. We've got in defence Trippier, James, Alexander-Arnold and Walker. Walker could be cover for Cancelo. I just think Cancelo offers a lot more in most games than Walker does, but I know a lot of people who think Walker could be good cover at such a cheap price, and it does enable you to have more expensive players elsewhere. And then the other three are pretty standard, although I personally have gone off Chelsea defence at the beginning of this season. Again, till I start watching them regularly in Premier League games, I don't want to take that risk. Edison should be a good pick, although of course they shipped free against Liverpool. And then on the bench, Tanganga, I'm not sure that's a great choice. I don't think he's going to be playing, but again, I could be wrong. But other than that, Grealish seems a very expensive bench option. So unless you're planning on benching Lingard, I think there's maybe a little bit too much spent on this bench. Next up, it's Sam Randall, 16. As again, we have Edison in goal with some very familiar faces in defence. I personally have had drafts with Cash in because I think Aston Villa could have a good start to the season, and Cash is a quite attacking fullback. Cancelo and Alexander-Arnold I can't say enough about. Trippier seems like a very popular option, and James, I'm not too sure about Chelsea's defence. I love the pick of Saka. He might be on penalties for Arsenal, and Jesus. I think Arsenal could have a great start to the season with their fixtures, so the double up makes sense to me. Son and Salah, you know I'm going to love that. I'm doing my very best to try and stick to it, but I do worry that by the time the season starts, I'm going to go Harry Kane, just because then it's so much easier for me to get Haaland in. And yeah, I want to go Salah and Son, but I really know when push comes to shove, I'm probably going to go Salah and Kane, which I think I'll be disappointed with, especially if Son outperforms Kane at the beginning of the season. Neto may have picked up an injury today in a friendly. Daniel Podence has matched him 4 goals and assists though during pre-season, and apparently is playing as a false 9 in Wolves' system. So maybe Daniel Podence could be a good alternative for Neto. And then of course the bench is pretty familiar to a lot of us. Andreas Pereira is a playing option, but I'm not sure I like the fact that you've got 2 strikers that probably aren't starters on your bench, just in case something goes wrong with that starting 11. And then finally we've got Odyssey, or Odyssey. It's always difficult to say some of these names when you ask people on Twitter or Instagram to send you pictures. But we've got Mendy in goal. Again, 5 million for Mendy does seem a bit too cheap, but Chelsea's defence hasn't seemed that good during pre-season. James and Chilwell, I mean, that's a bit rich for my blood, having 3 Chelsea defenders. If Chelsea concede, that's 3 of your players not really scoring points, unless, of course, James and Chilwell, who are very capable, get attacking returns. Walker instead of Cancelo for the cheapness, I get it. Not what I would do personally, but I can see why you've done it when we go further into your side. And of course, Trent is there, who did score today in the Community Shield. Then we have Luis Diaz, Martinelli, Rashford and Salah. Again, I'm not sure I can take the punt on the Man United boys. Luis Diaz, I'm not sure has the end product that I really want just yet, even though he has looked incredible. And then Salah and Martinelli, I'm kind of thinking Saka and Jesus are the best 2 Arsenal options to have. Martinelli could definitely do the business for you. Jesus and Haaland, very common front 2, although I do think a lot of people might go Kane at the beginning of this season now, having seen Haaland's performance in the Community Shield. Not that it was terrible, just want to make that clear. He wasn't really bad, just he had 2 good opportunities and didn't put either away. And then Andreas Pereira, Tomiyasu and Force. I'm not sure Force is a starter, but Tomiyasu and Andreas Pereira, decent bench options there, with Gazzaniga as your backup goalkeeper. I don't know who Chelsea's backup goalkeeper is off the top of my head, but if he's the same price, I'd just go with him instead of Gazzaniga. And I think overall it's a very good side. I just don't think I could take the punt on Rashford. I'd probably go somewhere else. And that is it for this video. So if you have enjoyed it, just before the beginning of the season, if you want to support the channel, please hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. And also let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the Community Shield game. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I've been JNO. This has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.